Well, Mike, good to see you as always. We're normally talking about Notre Dame adding on to classes. This is one of those spots where Notre Dame lost a commitment from that great class of 2025. It is on the defensive side of the football, and CJ May is the player. What can you tell us about what led to CJ leaving this class?
Yeah, it was a kind of one of those situations where May committed to Notre Dame out of the blue last September for the Ohio State game, and right away, kind of that flag is raised where it's like, is this going to stick? And then then you talk to the young man and you hear like, oh man, everything's going solid with Notre Dame, but that just kind of is always in the back of your head, like giving that impromptu commitment. Something you may not have, pondered for weeks upon weeks about giving that commitment. So, I think that as time went on, and even though he did have a good visit to campus on January 20th, he was just at Notre Dame a couple weeks ago. That trip did go well from what I'm told, but, there's a long list of schools that have continued to recruit CJ May. He's got a cousin at Auburn and a cousin committed to Auburn that are, former and current high school teammates. A&M's been pushing for him. I know he wants to visit there. Syracuse has been, in the mix and was at his high school. So there's just been more push from schools combined with May thinking, man, like this is once in a lifetime opportunity. Did I, rush this decision? Darren, guys like us, been following recruiting for a long time. We could see that coming. But for some of these young men, it's like, they got to go through it, to kind of get to that point. I think that's just kind of a factor of life. So, from the Notre Dame side of it, I think they kind of saw where this was going. So I think both parties just kind of ripped the Band-Aid off. And we'll talk next about like what's next on the defensive line board for this 2025 recruiting class. The way things are set up, the way things are trending, is May a good player? Yes. Do I think Notre Dame is going to lose sleep about the decommitment? No, I don't think so. CJ May's a really good player, but Notre Dame has put itself in a good position to be able to replace him.
Mike, you talk about CJ May. Maybe he sees another opportunity somewhere else. This might be a great opportunity for Notre Dame to go up a level maybe in adding a defensive lineman. With the way they're recruiting right now, heck, sky's the limit. So what do you see on the defensive line board right now?
So you got to start, and I did do a full article about this at blueandgold.com, so folks can check it out. But you got to start with the commits. They have 3 locked in. You got Chris Burgess, pass rusher from Chicago Simeon, picked Notre Dame over Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, and others. 6'4", 230-pound pass rusher. And then you got Joseph Reif, another Chicago prospect who Notre Dame is really excited about. So they got 3 commitments in total right now. Burgess, Reif, and then Davion Dixon from Miami, who's another kind of gave an impromptu commitment to Notre Dame, but he's been pledged for coming up on a year. And he's still going strong this commitment. And I don't know of any schools that Davion Dixon, who's a nose tackle, is committed. So you got a nose tackle in Dixon, 3 technique and Joseph Reif, and then Chris Burgess could be a Viper or a strong side end. But really one of the top overall targets on the board right now is Damian Shanklin from Indianapolis Warren Central. Do love like the Chicago, the Indy recruiting for Notre Dame in this 25 cycle. There's talent in those areas more than ever, or maybe not more than ever, but more than usual, I would say, at least in my time covering Notre Dame. I feel like this 2025 class is loaded, in the Hoosier State and over in Chicagoland. So yeah, down in Indy, you got Damian Shanklin. 4-star prospect across the board. He loves Ohio State. The Buckeyes haven't offered yet, but Ohio State could offer, and then he still ends up at Notre Dame. I still think that's a very real scenario. So Shanklin has offers from the likes of Indiana, Tennessee, Michigan State, Texas, A&M, Wisconsin, USC. So a pretty big-time offer list for Damian Shanklin. Not expected to announce any kind of commitment anytime soon, later in the spring or in the summer. Probably not in the spring. So summer, maybe fall for Shanklin, and Notre Dame's going to play the long game with him. And then a recent development is Notre Dame's really looking at adding another interior defensive lineman, not necessarily a nose tackle. That guy to line up over the center, more of a three technique. So just kind of interior defensive lineman. And there's 4 names to know from what I'm being told. Juju Marks from Overland Park in Kansas, 6'7", 255 pounds. He's a 4-star prospect and a former Missouri commit. Javion Campbell from Frankfort, Kentucky. More of a recent bloomer here, 6'5", 260 pounds. We talked about him in our segment last week, Darren. He was just on campus Thursday, I believe it was. He's a name to watch. Notre Dame offered Campbell in January. They also offered Ethan Utley. He's from Nashville, Ensworth, 4-star, highly ranked player, number 44 overall prospect per on 3. Notre Dame's looking to get in the mix there. And then how about a potential flip that the Irish are looking to pull off from Saraland High School in South Alabama? Again, currently pledged to the Auburn Tigers. Notre Dame looking to pull him away from Auburn, and Notre Dame did see him in January during that contact period. So the Irish are making a look move there. So to kind of recap, you got 3 commits. Damian Shanklin is, I don't like saying a must get, but Notre Dame really, really wants to add him, and then they're looking at a few different interior defensive line options, and do expect Notre Dame to expand the board with more offers at that particular position.
All right. I'm glad Damian Shanklin's a defensive lineman, not a kicker, to say the least. And also, a lot going on with the defensive line, with Al Washington rumored to be in the BC head coaching conversation. So a lot of things going on right now.
From what I've read, Darren, it seems like Boston College wants experience, like they're valuing experience at the head coaching position. So I think that Al Washington's being mentioned as a guy, like it would be like a good feel good thing to get Wash back there. But yeah, that would be a surprise if Boston College ends up hiring him as their head coach.
Sounds like Bill O'Brien might be one of their top candidates. There's a guy with NFL and college experience.